What's up guys, this is VinylicPuma, and today I wanted to do something a little different from doing countdowns on guns and weapons or making theory videos on Fallout 4 and talk about what I think are some cool, funny, and perhaps even weird names that Codsworth can recognize and say in Fallout 4. Now, before we start, it's worth mentioning that this video will be subjective, as a lot of these recorded names are interesting to me personally. Now, you may find that there are others that are funny and interesting to you, and I would encourage you to leave some of your own favorites in the comments section below. Also, I'd like to issue a bit of a challenge to you guys. If you learned something from this video that you didn't know before, feel free to leave a like. However, if you knew all of the recorded names in this video, feel free to go ahead and leave a dislike. But with all of that out of the way and in no particular order, these are 13 of what I think are among the most cool, interesting, funny, and weird names that Codsworth can say in Fallout 4, starting now. Number 13.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Optical, Sean has been changed.
So I'm pretty surprised that this got recorded by the developers over at Bethesda. In case you didn't know, the name Batosai is a reference to the fairly famous Rurouni Kenshin anime and manga, where the main character, Kenshin Himura, is a former legendary Japanese assassin turned wandering ronin that went by the name of Hitokiri Batosai during Japan's Bakumatsu period. My only guess is that someone at Bethesda working on Fallout 4 is a big manga and anime buff. After all, you can also name your character Tetsuo, Akira, or Kaneda, which is a nod to the famous Akira manga and anime. Still, it's pretty cool to see something like this in Fallout 4, as it really is the last place you would expect to see it. Number 12.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Assface.
I have my moments.
Mr. Fuckface. Sean has been changed.
On the one hand, I suppose it's not entirely surprising that these particular names would be included. However, at the same time, it is kind of cool to see Bethesda record these. A lot of players out there will typically name their player characters something vulgar, and having these names available is amusing for those types of people. There are some other curse words that are available that involve the F word, however, there aren't any that involve the word ass. Ultimately, if you want a good chuckle, this could be a good name for your character on subsequent playthroughs. Number 11.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Humongous.
Humongous what? Humongous what? While I'm sure some of you enjoyed that reference to an old dank meme from back in 2016, here's our actual entry.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Humongous. Sean has been changed.
The name Humongous in Fallout 4 is actually a reference to a Mad Max 2 character by the same name. While I can't tell you much about him since I've not seen Mad Max 2, it is worth mentioning that the Fallout franchise draws some inspiration from the Mad Max movies. So seeing Humongous appear here is pretty cool, especially when you consider that the player can also name their character Toe Cutter as well. And while we're on the subject of Mad Max references, let's go over two more from the more recent movies. Number 10.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Erectus. Sean has been changed.
At first glance, you would think that out of all of the names that were recorded for Fallout 4, Erectus would be one of the stranger ones. After all, no one actually uses that as their own personal name, and the term Erectus is usually used to classify a type of archaic man called Homo erectus that lived during the Pleistocene era or just the Mid-Ice Age. However, if you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, which is the most recent Mad Max film, one of the antagonists is named Erectus, which is where this particular name comes from. But let's go ahead with our final Mad Max reference, which is going to be number 9.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Imperatore, Sean has been changed.
While not necessarily hilarious or anything, and despite being a Mad Max reference, it's kind of weird that this particular word got included while the word emperor did not. Imperator is a Latin word that means to order or to command, and was a title bestowed to commanders under the ancient Roman imperial army. As you might guess, the word Imperator was eventually adopted by the English language and eventually morphed into the term emperor that we all know today. Again, this is another reference to Mad Max, as Imperatore Furiosa is a character in the most recent Mad Max film that's played by Charlize Theron. If you're curious, the name Furiosa is also available for Codsworth to say in Fallout 4 as well. It's kind of neat to see all of these Mad Max names get added, but I do have to admit that it's kind of a shame that Roman emperor names like Caesar, Nero, and Octavian didn't get included. Number 8.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Miss Kalel,
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
There's a pretty good chance you Superman fans out there will know this one, as Kalel is the birth name of Clark Kent, aka Superman himself. All the same, it's sort of weird that Superman's real name is mentioned in Fallout 4, where the name Superman isn't something that Codsworth can speak, nor is Clark Kent. I guess this is a rights issue with DC, but only Bethesda could really confirm this for us. Also, as you just saw, this one is kind of weird because Codsworth properly addresses you if your player character is female, but is basically blank if you're male. So if anyone that works on the unofficial patch mod or somebody that works at Bethesda somehow manages to come across this video, it'd be cool if we could get Codsworth to address the player properly if you pick a male character. Number 7.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Orgazmo, Sean has been changed.
Much like some of the vulgar names you can give to your character, you can also name your player character Orgazmo. While the reference to the word orgasm is obvious, it's unclear whether this name is a reference to anything else in particular. And I mention that because there is a movie from the late 1990s called Orgazmo, spelled with a Z, as well as a movie just called Orgazmo from the late 60s. So maybe this is an actual reference to something, and if you guys know the answer, feel free to leave it in the comments below, or it may just be something funny that somebody at Bethesda thought up. Either way, the name Orgazmo is fairly humorous, and it's something you could name your character on a second or third playthrough. Number 6.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Optical, Sean has been changed.
I have to wonder what possessed Bethesda to include this one as a recorded name. As far as I'm aware, no one really names their kid or themselves Optical, as the term typically refers to devices with optics, as in something like a microscope, telescope, or a weapon scope. Maybe it was an inside joke amongst the developers or something, but it's still kind of weird to see Optical be a recorded name. And if you have any ideas on why this would be included, again, much like Orgazmo, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. Number 5.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Fragile, Sean has been changed.
Much like Optical, I'm pretty sure no one really names their kid or themselves Fragile. Unlike Optical though, this one is kind of funny because the game will address you as Mr. or Mrs. Fragile. And logically, the next step is to allow the player to name their character Snowflake, Wuss, Wimp, or Weakling. Who knows, but maybe we'll see something like that in Fallout 5. Number 4.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Pliskin, Sean has been changed.
Now this particular entry is pretty cool as it's a direct reference to the Escape from New York movie and an indirect reference to the Metal Gear series. For those of you that haven't watched the movie, the main character is played by Kurt Russell and is named Snake Plissken, hence its appearance in Fallout 4. However, what's also cool about this is that Solid Snake goes by Snake for short and also adopted the alias of Iroquois Pliskin during the events of Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. Obviously, Pliskin is spelled differently in the Metal Gear series, but it's likely that Kojima intended for it to be a nod of sorts to Escape from New York, which the Metal Gear series at times has shared some notable similarities with. Ultimately though, this name is great for Metal Gear and Escape from New York fans alike, and if you're curious, Codsworth will also recognize Snake as well. Number 3.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Everdeen, Sean has been changed.
I have my moments.
Mr. Katniss, Sean has been changed.
I think it's pretty obvious, but both of these are a reference to the Hunger Games novels that were written by Suzanne Collins, which were later adapted into movies that starred Jennifer Lawrence as the main protagonist, Katniss Everdeen. Now, at the time of Fallout 4's release in 2015, the Hunger Games series was arguably at the peak of its popularity, and the final film in the film's adaptation, Mockingjay Part 2, was released on November 20th, 2015, which would have been about 10 days after Fallout 4's release on November 10th, 2015. My guess is that a couple of people at Bethesda were big fans of the books and films, and this is largely why Codsworth can recognize both Katniss and Everdeen. So if you're a big fan of the Hunger Games, you can at least name your character after the series' main protagonist. Number 2.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Phasma, Sean has been changed.
I have my moments.
Mr. Hux, Sean has been changed.
I have my moments.
Mr. Finn, Sean has been changed.
I have my moments.
Mr. Ray, Sean has been changed.
While I'm not a big fan of the new Star Wars sequel trilogy, it is worth mentioning that a number of the characters' names from Episode 7 can be recognized by Codsworth. In particular, Codsworth can recognize the name Phasma, Hux, Finn, and can also recognize Rey, provided it's spelled with an A. Codsworth can also recognize Luke, Leia, and Han as well. However, given that these names are a lot more common in general, I suppose you could make the argument that these names aren't necessarily a reference to the Star Wars movies. Either way, it's nice to see a small tribute to Star Wars in the form of Hux and Phasma. All you should need at this point are some lightsaber mods, and your Star Wars playthrough should be good to go. Number 1.
For you and Sean, no price is too high.
Good answer.
I have my moments.
Mr. Picard, Sean has been changed.
So a lot of the Trekkies will know about this one, but in case you've never heard of Star Trek, Picard is a reference to Jean-Luc Picard from the Star Trek The Next Generation TV show that ran from the mid-80s to the early 90s. The Next Generation era of Star Trek was arguably the golden era for the franchise, and spawned some pretty great memes like the famous Picard double facepalm or the Shut Up Wesley clip. If you're into sci-fi though, and you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you watch The Next Generation on either Netflix, Hulu, or wherever else it's available. I can't speak for a lot of the new stuff, but a lot of the older Trek stuff is truly great. Alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you liked this video, feel free to leave a like, click the bell so you can get notifications for when I upload my next video, and as always, thank you all so much for supporting the channel, take care, and I'll see y'all next time.